stage where ideas ignite, boundaries dissolve, and the future takes shape in ways both bold and brilliant.
In this very space, we're here to witness the culmination of relentless creativity and boundless potential. TED asserts with unwavering conviction that age isn't a restriction but an avenue to unexplored possibilities. This platform is a canvas where our students unveil their creativity, share their narratives, and spark conversations that truly matter.
Behind every captivating talk lies a story of exploration, countless hours immersed in research, and a steadfast belief that these very ideas have the power to mold the course of time. From tackling global challenges to weaving personal anecdotes into the fabric of change, these young minds have poured their hearts and souls to bring their visions into this very stage.
And now, as we embark on this journey together, we invite you to witness a realm where ideas go beyond personal goals, where innovation transcends all limitations, where every student exceeds excellence and yearns to take the big step towards determination and responsibility, constantly celebrating their commitment to a greater ideal, helping themselves rethink, realign, and reboot their lives for a better tomorrow, a tomorrow where values are valued.
Get ready as we dive into a collection of talks poised to leave you introspecting, querying, and unearthing the limitless reservoir of potential residing within the next generation. So without further ado, let the TED event unfurl its vibrant tapestry of inspiration, imagination, and insight. Ladies and gentlemen, let the TED event begin.
Without much ado, we would like to humbly welcome our director, Swami Anukalandaji, Principal Srimati Rajeshwari, our headmaster, Sri Ganesh, our deputy headmistress, Srimati Sharanya, and our spiritual guide, Brahmachari Sanathanji, to light the lamp to commence the event on a positive note.
शुभं करोति कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिर्विनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ॐ
We now invite Master Geet Kaushal of Grade 11 and Master Aryan of Grade 9 to deliver us onto him with the divine rendition invoking our beloved Pujya Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda Ji.
आओ गुरुदेव दर्शन दीजो आओ गुरुदेव दर्शन दीजो तुम हो जगत के दाता स्वामी तुम हो जगत के दाता आओ गुरुदेव दर्शन दीजो आओ गुरुदेव दर्शन दीजो तुम हो जगत के दाता स्वामी तुम हो जगत के दाता तुम ही हो ब्रह्मा तुम ही हो विष्णु तुम ही हो शंकर रूपा सृष्टि स्थिति लय स्वरूप तुम हो अनादि रूप स्वामी तुम हो जगत के दाता स्वामी तुम हो जगत के दाता अनाथ नाथ दीन बंधु तुम हो आनंद रूप अज्ञान नाशक शरण संरक्षक आत्मज्ञान प्रदाता स्वामी तुम हो जगत के दाता स्वामी तुम हो जगत के दाता आओ गुरुदेव दर्शन दीजो आओ गुरुदेव दर्शन दीजो तुम हो जगत के दाता स्वामी तुम हो जगत के दाता तुम हो जगत के दाता स्वामी तुम हो जगत के दाता
Thank you, Geet and Arun, for that marvelous rendition. With her unyielding commitment to education and innovation, our Madam Principal has been a beacon of inspiration for all of us. Her guidance has paved the way for us to gather here today to celebrate the intellect and creativity that thrive within our student community. On behalf of our entire team, we wholeheartedly invite Madam Principal to grace the stage and deliver the welcome address for our TEDx Student Talk program.
Hari Om to all of you, and good afternoon to all. You know, last 6 years, we have been having TEDx talks being organized in our school, where we identify the speakers and we bring them here and give them the platform. It's the first time at CIRS we are having TEDx, that is your students presenting the talk. I'm extremely delighted that 15 students have prepared themselves so beautifully. Last 2 to 3 weeks, they have been writing scripts, they are preparing, they are changing, so much of ups and downs, but they are today ready and prepared to deliver their talk, their speech for all of us. I wholeheartedly appreciate the hard work and the sincere efforts of our Sharanya ma'am, Bhuvneshwari ma'am and Sanatan ji for guiding these children throughout this journey. At the same time, all my wishes to these wonderful speakers who are going to present the talk today. I can wholeheartedly again wish and extend my greetings to all the children, and thank you parents and thank you dear children here for joining us in celebrating knowledge, in celebrating creativity, at the same time celebrating the unstoppable, I can say, passion or potential of these children. All wishes to all the children, and at the same time our Shanti ma'am has also sent her wishes to all of us. Let's see this little video.
Hari Om. Once in one of the teacher training programs, a teacher asked me this question. She asked me whether thinking can be taught to children like any other subject in the school. I had to contemplate on the question. Though the very purpose of education is to make children think and take informed decisions in their life, but can actually thinking be taught in schools? I realized to a large extent, thinking can be nurtured as a habit in children by giving the stimuli, the right stimuli in the school. Teachers can probably demonstrate thinking. I remember a beautiful quote by John Dewey. He says, "We do not learn from our experiences, but we learn from reflecting on our experiences." CBSE has introduced a subject called design thinking for the class 11 and 12 students, because that's the need of the hour, that children take decisions after thinking about it. And TED education is a wonderful platform to nurture the skills in children. I'm very happy CIRS has taken that initiative. Congratulations to the teachers who are taking responsibility for this, and also my best wishes to the children. Make use of the best use of this platform and to grow and evolve. Wishing you all the best. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you so much, Shanti ma'am, for your words of inspiration, and all wishes again to all the students. Thank you.
Now, we would like to start off with a simple introduction to our TEDx Student Talk initiative.
TEDx Student Talk platform is a manifestation of intellectual brilliance and innovative thought. In this distinguished setting, we offer a podium for individuals of your caliber to eloquently share profound insights and reflections during your speeches. Our objective surpasses mere conciseness. It lies in fostering an atmosphere of dynamic engagement that lingers in that memory.
TEDx at CIRS, a forum poised to redefine the boundaries of intellectual exploration. Within this esteemed enclave, we extend a gracious invitation to some of the most ingenious minds. Individuals who plunge into profound experiences, dismantle entrenched boundaries, and reshape the contours of what can be achieved.
Prepared to be immersed in a realm of intellectually invigorating concepts and visually captivating experiences. Brace yourself for an infusion of inspiration that culminates in an invigorating surge of energy and a rejuvenating wave of enthusiasm. In light of this, let us collectively harness the currents of intellectual innovations and bask in the magnificence of this shared journey towards enlightenment.
Now, for those folks at home tuning into our live stream, here's a short video showcasing our event and its speakers.
Where did all the great men go? We used to have such amazing people in this world. Nelson Mandela, Abraham Lincoln, Mahatma Gandhi. Look at who we have now. Serial killers, corrupt leaders, people who put sugar on sambar, and worst of all, people who call this thing veg biryani. So really, where did all the great men go? Now to answer that question, I think we first need to find the answer to another one. What is the greatest gift in the world? Something that can turn any man, even a silly man like me, into a great man. What you are about to hear is the story of how I found the answer to that question. 7 years ago, I came to India from Dubai for my summer vacation. I was a man with a plan. I was going to gobble up grandma's food, visit a few places in town, and of course, destroy my cousins in pillow fights. It may not look like it, but that right there is the face of a champion. Oh, and if I forgot to mention, my cousins are 6 years younger than me. But so what? Anyway, I had just stepped foot on beautiful Indian soil when I heard just 5 words and almost fainted. Tirukkural class today, 4 p.m. Let me explain. Tirukkural is an ancient Tamil text that outlines every little aspect of our day-to-day lives. It is beautiful, but it is also long. Very, very long. 1,330 verses long, in fact. And the problem was, my father wanted me to memorize the whole thing. Now, I hated Tirukkural. In fact, I hated Tirukkural more than I hated the term veg biryani. But you must understand one thing here. The problem was not that my father wanted me to memorize the whole thing. The problem was that my father wanted me to memorize the whole thing. Now, my father is a very interesting man. He had 2 weapons, but I was only scared of one. His first weapon was his look. If you messed up, he wouldn't do anything. He would just look. I wasn't scared of his look, but he had one more weapon. A 5,000-year-old, time-tested warhead, ready to be used at any moment on me. It was a stick. The stick scared me like nothing else in the world. So I went up to my dad and I said, Dad, I don't have time for this silly Tirukkural thingy. I have better things to do. There's a whole plate of laddus over there, just waiting to be finished. And look over there, that's my little cousin's face, just waiting for my pillow to smack it. Please, Dad. My dad used his first weapon. I wasn't scared, but then he used his second weapon. Son, you'll go to Tirukkural class, right? What did I tell you? The stick scared me to death. So I said the only thing that I could have said. Yes, Dad. Okay, Dad. Done, Dad. Basically, in my family, Dad appears, choice disappears. So I dragged myself to Tirukkural class, which was just down the road. I was expecting a class similar to all the ones I had attended in Dubai. A 1,000 square foot, brightly lit facility where I would enter and the receptionist would greet me and give me a complimentary Snickers bar. Let's just say this class had no Snickers bar. The floor was cracked. The roof looked like it was ready to fall down and commit genocide at any moment. And somehow, there were more flies over there than people. As I was cursing fate and my poor life choices, I saw this man sitting nearby. He looked like a poor, homeless man with a shaggy beard and a glazed eye. Now, I was an ungrateful little brat, but at least I had generosity. So, as an act of charity, I took out a 500 rupee note from my own purse, my mother's purse, and gave it to the poor man. I will never forget what he told me. He said, "Son, no, it's okay. You can pay the fees after the class." I thought, "Boss, what fees are you talking about? This is charity." Oh, this was no homeless man. This man was my teacher. And that's how I met Ellappan Ayya, the man who would teach me Tirukkural for the next 1 month. 1 month of torture later, I was back home. Finally, I was free from all this philosophy. And that's when I almost fainted again. This time, it wasn't 5 words. It was just 3. No. It wasn't Tirukkural class. It was online Tirukkural class. No. This time, I would not attend it. So I went up to my dad and I said, "Dad, online class? Ellappan Ayya doesn't even know the P in phone." And my dad looked at me for a while and he said, "Yeah, and you don't even know the T in Tirukkural, so shut up and learn." But this time, I was stubborn. "I don't want to attend Tirukkural class, Dad." And then he used his first weapon. I wasn't scared. But then he used his second weapon. "Son, you'll attend online Tirukkural class, right?" This time, I was brave. This time, I had courage. But he had the stick. So I said, "Yes, Dad. Okay, Dad. Done, Dad." What did I tell you? In my family, Dad appears, choice disappears. But despite my attempt at escaping the stick, I would not attend Tirukkural class. So I did what every kid does best. I bunked. I used every excuse in the book. "Ayya, I have a function to attend, Ayya. Ayya, power cut in my area, Ayya." And of course, the supreme excuse of, "Ayya, internet problem, Ayya." But one day, I had a question that must be very familiar to every addict out there. Why don't I just give it a try? And so I attended just one class. And it wasn't so bad. So I attended another and another. And it was okay. I was happy that it was taking me towards a higher ideal. But I was happier that it was taking me away from the stick. But there was one thing in every single class that remained absolutely constant. Ellappan Ayya. Every single time, Ellappan Ayya would teach me in that same sincere, passionate way that he always would. And slowly, I found out that I didn't hate Tirukkural anymore. Soon enough, I was never bunking classes. I had no functions to attend. There were no power cuts in my area. The government must have been doing a good job. And suddenly, my internet was better than NASA's internet. Seeing his love for Tirukkural, I started loving Tirukkural. I learned to see beauty in the 2,000-year-old teaching. I learned to see beauty in the words and beauty in the poetry. But above everything else, I learned to see beauty in the man who taught me. I learned to see beauty in Ellappan Ayya. And so the classes went on until finally I'd done it. All 1,330 Tirukkural up here. Normally, students take 2 to 3 years to finish it. I'm a very special boy, so I took just 6 years. But finally, it was over. Now, I just had to prove it. My final task was to recite every single Kural in front of the district collectorate. If I succeeded, I would have 10,000 rupees and a certificate in my hand. But at that point, I didn't care. I didn't care because I was happy that I got to learn something so worth it. And above anything else, I was happy that I had a teacher like Ellappan Ayya. I was also happy that I didn't get the stick. So I said my goodbyes, went to the collectorate and aced the test. So with 10,000 rupees and a certificate in my hand, I came to boarding school, feeling like a recently awakened Buddha. And that's when everything changed. A month after I came here, I got a call. It was a stick man, fondly called Dad. Hi Dad, how's it going? Son, yeah, it's okay. I have to tell you something. You know Allapanaya, right? Oh yeah, how's he doing? I will never forget what my dad told me. My dad said, Allapanaya is dead. I have never ever cried like I did that day. I cried because I lost someone who was dear to me, someone I cared about. But I also cried because the world lost a great teacher. I cried thinking about every little kid that would never get to sit under that half-broken roof and listen to his simple, passionate teachings. He took an ungrateful, overprivileged little brat and taught him how to live his life. My dad put it best. It's like he was there just to hold my hand. And once he knew that I'd find my own way, he let go. And that's when I found the answer to my question. What is the greatest gift in the world? That day, I found out that the greatest gift in the world is a great teacher. I told you guys this story because it's the story of the two greatest teachers in my life. One is Allapanaya, who I will never ever forget. But there's another hero in this story. Can you guess? My dad. I always thought that my dad was a tough dad, a hard dad, a bad dad. That day, I found out that my dad was a soft dad, a nice dad, a good dad. But he was a soft dad who had a tough life. He did everything he could, the look, the stick, everything, just to make sure that I didn't live the same life he did. And with that realization came something else, regret. How could I ever possibly repay these people? How can we ever repay them? Being a good student just isn't enough. So why don't we take it a small step higher? What if we all stopped being students and started being teachers? Think about it. If every single person sitting over here taught just one thing to just one person every week, then in just 1 year, we would have taught 15,000 people. But why stop there? If we teach them to be more than students, if we teach them to be teachers, then in just 5 years, we would have made the whole world just a little bit better. A better world right at our fingertips. And it all starts here. Where did all the great men go? All the great men are right here, somewhere amongst these millions of people that just need a little push. Somewhere in this massive web, you'll find a spark. A spark like my dad. A spark like Allapanaya. So teach. Teach because you want to teach. Teach with passion. Teach with spirit. And above all, teach with love. And when you do that, you will find a change in you like no other. Because at that moment, in that time, the greatest gift in the world is you. Thank you, everybody.
Can we once again give a big round of applause to Adityan for that insightful talk? Thank you for shedding light on what truly matters in life. The greatest gift indeed. Thank you once again, Adityan.
Now, fellow adventurers of the inner world, guiding us through complexities of the mind, we have a very intriguing topic, the subtle art of not listening. Now, what does that mean? I'm sure we'll find out.
Get ready to embark on a journey that will expand your understanding of the world within and inspire you to ask questions and lead to groundbreaking answers. Over to our next speaker, Shimon John Augustine of IB Second Year, for you, my friends.
Check, check, check. I am here before you for one reason and one reason only, to tell you all a secret that may just change your life forever. I am here to present to all of you the subtle art of not listening. Oh wait, you're telling me that people have already mastered the art? That people across the globe do it every single day? That people in the crowd are doing it right now? Oh well, that's my topic done then. Thank you all for listening and good afternoon. Okay, wait. I just realized I forgot to add a little suffix to my topic. Okay, but why am I telling you not to listen to yourself? There's so much content written on the internet or in books that's contrary to what I'm telling you right now. From cheesy quotes to whole speeches, it may seem like the best way to improve your life is to listen to yourself. So why am I telling you to do the exact opposite? The answer is simple, but let me give you a little context on how I got to this topic, and maybe you'll understand. So one day, I was just sitting there waiting for an idea to just come in my head when my friend came up to me and gave me the previous topic. But I wasn't very satisfied with it because I knew you were all very well versed in it already. So I decided to switch it up a bit. But then I started getting anxiety because I was thinking about the talk itself, about the fact that I'd be standing on stage in front of all of you, speaking for 7 minutes straight. My anxiety was through the roof, and I couldn't even speak properly. And that's when it clicked. Who was I listening to at that moment? None other than yours truly, myself. So I started listening to my thoughts and emotions more objectively to try and understand this phenomena. And what I discovered was eye-opening. Here's what I learned. One specialization of our inner voice is bias. Biases, put simply, are mental shortcuts that our minds take in order to process information more efficiently. But there's just one problem with these shortcuts. It's the fact that they don't change over time. Rather, they grow stronger and stronger with each and every time they're used. Now, why is this a problem, you may ask? Allow me to give you an example. One day, me and my father were happily cycling down the street when suddenly, bam, I was on the floor with a broken arm and a shattered confidence. After that, I could never get next to a cycle again because I knew if I sat on the devil contraption, I would never make it out alive. Eventually, I did grow to my biases. But the one thing I learned was that that one incident cost me so much more than just 2 weeks of pain, all because I listened to my biases. So now that we all know that our biases plague our minds every day, and listening to our inner voice only perpetuates that bias, how do we cultivate the subtle art of not listening to ourselves? It starts with becoming more aware of your emotions and thoughts. Rather than accepting them as the ultimate truths, we should realize that our inner minds are made up of biases, and hence we should try and remove these biases from ourselves by learning to discern. Is this thought pushing me forward, or is it pushing me back? Now I want to take you down a little detour. Suppose me and you are walking down a beautiful by street, and we see a man. This man has a very, let's just say, interesting proposition. Now, I don't know about you, but my first instinct would be to run as fast as possible. And maybe, just maybe, some of you might actually go and hug this man. But the point I'm trying to make here is that we're all uncertain. Uncertain because we have no idea what the other person might do. Stab us? Likely. Mug us? Probably. Actually give us a hug? That's out of the question. Our mind's number one catchphrase is where's the catch? And it's just a downward spiral from there. So sometimes it's better to just let go of that pesky little inner voice and embrace uncertainty. Sometimes the best decisions are made by letting go of our inner voice and leaning into the discomfort of the unknown rather than relying solely on our internal narratives. Another effective way of gaining perspective is by seeking external input. Rather than relying solely on your own advice, engage in meaningful discussion with people who have diverse viewpoints from your own. They can challenge your assumptions and offer you fresh insights you may have never considered before. And there you have it. That's my experience with the subtle art of not listening to myself. But I am by no means an expert. Otherwise, this talk would have been flawless. But if there's one thing I want you all to take from this talk, it's this. It's the fact that we can all be teenage prodigy millionaires. We can all be whatever we want to be, if only we stop listening to ourselves and we start doing. Thank you so much.
A warm round of applause to Shimon for shedding light on the subtle art of not listening to yourself. Thank you for guiding us through the path of self-awareness.
Next up, we're diving deep into the intriguing theme of the paradox of wealth. As we embark on this intellectual voyage, we're all set to navigate the delicate equilibrium between prosperity and its unexpected complexities.
Be prepared to be fascinated, enlightened, and motivated as we peel back the layers of this captivating paradox. Without further ado, let's open our minds for Navdarshan for IB second year.
Wow, a lot of tired faces already. Take a moment, take a deep breath, sit back into your chair and get comfortable. Because what you're going to witness for the next 7 minutes is going to be the harsh reality of today's world. I want you to look at this picture. Look into these people's eyes and tell me what you see. And I want you to feel exactly like how they feel. You know, I for one see pain. I see suffering. And overall, I see the result of unequal society. Our society today is a deeply unequal one. The level of inequality today is the highest it has ever been since the 1920s and 30s, the days of the Great Depression. The world we live in today is a world where an abundance of resources are confined to a select few. And at a very first glance, wealth may seem like a gateway to prosperity. But is it truly? It's only you understand that the paradox of wealth is a double-edged sword when you dive deeper into the subject. However, you only witness this when money becomes synonymous with wealth. Now, forget about everything I said. Why am I here? Why does Navadarshan need to speak about the paradox of wealth over here on this very stage? I'll tell you why. Because it hurts. It hurts to see my people from my country suffering from poverty and hunger. Let me tell you a little story. I was born in a rural village, but I was raised in an urban city. This exposed me to people of different social classes. My grandfather Chandran is a farmer. He lived in this rural village his entire life. He is my life's greatest hero. And he taught me this. He taught me that the greatest failure of humanity is that we've left behind 1 billion of our fellow members to victims of poverty and hunger. Get that number in your head. 1 billion of our fellow members to victims of poverty and hunger. And he also taught me this. He taught me that education is the great equalizer because it helps level the playing field and hence is a key to creating a more just society. Now, what do you think is the actual reason for poverty? You think it's a lack of resources? No. It's actually a lack of distribution. Now, when I actually found out what actual poverty means, I wanted to understand the sheer scale of this problem. So I took this up to Google, and here's what I found on Google. According to the United Nations, 1 in every 3 children are permanently stunted from a lifetime of not having to eat enough. Combine that with poor access to healthcare, and 1 in every 10 children die even before they reach the age of 5. And of these people who are left over, only 1/4 of them actually make it through high school. Only 1/4. Why? The rest can't afford to make it through schooling. Now, statistics just gets worse and worse from here. Some 25,000 people die each and every day because of hunger. Simply because of hunger. And amongst that 25,000 people are 10,000 children. Children like me and you. And statistic gets, like I mentioned before, worse and worse. Some 854 million people are undernourished. And high food prices might as well drive up another 100 million people right into poverty and hunger. I see all your helpless faces out there. In fact, I felt helpless too. After all, I am a student. What can I do? Now, there was this great Greek thinker, Archimedes, and he thought by simply leaning onto the right side of the lever, we can shift the balance of the world. Now, I talked a lot of statistics about children. You know why? Because we are the pillars of a future equitable world. Children like these matter. He matters and she matter. And we all as a society matter. Every action, every word we speak actually matters in the world we live in today. And here is Archimedes trying to shift the balance of the world using a lever. Now, it's no surprise that poverty and hunger curb human potential in every possible way. After all, we see ourselves as moral, feeling, and thinking human race. But how can we claim to be moral if we leave millions of people to suffer from hunger and poverty? We often see the scale of such problems and are saddened by them, aren't we? But trust me, it's no time to be saddened. Rather, we need to navigate. After all, our friend here, Archimedes, taught us that all you got to do is lean on the right levers and you can shift the balance of the entire world. Now, here's lever number 1. And trust me, these are really powerful levers to solve world poverty. Farmers. Now, where does farmers actually have a role in all this? Turns out, some of the world's most poor are farmers. If this picture represents the world's poor, then 75% of these people depend on agriculture and its related activities for their daily livelihood. Think how powerful this is. They stand at the very center of the world. If farmers become more productive, they get to earn more money. And by getting to earn more money, more than half the world's poor rise from poverty. That's how powerful this is. And when I say farmers, don't get a wrong idea. I don't mean farmers like these. I don't mean farmers who own thousands and hundreds of acres of land. I mean farmers like these. Look at that show of strength, will, and power radiating from him. So amazing, isn't it? But you know what's the difference between a farmer like this and a farmer like this? It's just the lack of basic knowledge and lack of basic access to tools. Now, we humans actually solved agricultural poverty on paper. We did it in theory. We just never cared enough to supply it to those people who actually matter, to those people who put food on our very plate. Now, we don't need another Isaac Newton to solve this problem. We don't need another Albert Einstein to solve this problem. All you got to do is navigate through wealth, prosperity, poverty, and money. You see, when farmers earn more money, they not only put food on our plate, but they create a more equitable society for the rest of us who are living in it. Now, where every company, organization, and government sets up distribution networks, we solve poverty like this. That's how fast we actually get to solve it. All you got to do is invest in the right things. We need to make sure farmers have basic access to to tools such as hybrid seeds, tractors to plow, and fertilizers and pesticides to farm. I'm mentioning this again. Poverty is not a problem of resources. It's simply a problem of distribution. And all you have to do is to play the role of a humble delivery man. Is that too much to ask for? I'm not asking you guys to feed people by putting food on their plate. The farmers will take care of that. All you have to do is give them access so that they can put food on people's plate. Now, why I'm really here? I am here because many of you understand that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. However, we cannot claim to be true humans, and we cannot achieve true progress until we all care about basic human rights and dignity. Our survival on this very planet that we get to call home is interconnected, and our vision of wealth must align with compassion and justice. And to those who already share this belief, I have simply come here to tell you to hold on. Don't let go. Because even in the midst of such big problems, there is hope. We got here. We will get where we need to in time. Just keep having the hope. Or at this point, we might as well just die trying. Thank you.
Can we give once again a round of applause for Navadarshan for that incredibly insightful talk. Thank you for enlightening us about the paradox of wealth and guiding us through its complexities.
Now, we would like to call upon our director, Swami Anukulananda ji, to felicitate our speakers. We would like to call our speakers, Adityan Divakar Vidya, Shimon John Augustine, and Navdarshan S. Thank you, Swamiji, and our speakers.
Up next, we have Hiya and Devashi to showcase their skill in contemporary dance. Let's have a round of applause for Devashi and Hiya.
Don't take yourself so seriously. Look at you all dressed up for someone you never see. You're here for a reason, but you don't know why. You're splitting uneven, your hands to the sky. Surrender yourself. And I wonder why I tear myself down to be built back up again. Oh, I hope somehow I'll wake up young again. All that's left of myself, holes in my false confidence. And now I lay myself down and hope I wake up young again.
Thank you, Hiya and Devashi, for that mesmerizing performance.
Now, hold on to your seats for an utterly unique session. In our upcoming talk, resource exploitation takes center stage in a rather unconventional manner through an animated dialogue with none other than the most dreaded being at CIRS, a ferocious cockroach.
Get ready to chuckle, learn, and rethink as Jayam Modi of Grade 10 engages in an enthralling, thought-provoking conversation with a resource-savvy insect companion.
Check, check. Dear ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, teachers and students, today I'm here to share with you a story to which each one of you will find a different takeaway. I met a cockroach. About a month ago, I had gone to the inauguration of my uncle's pesticide factory, where a pipe ruptured, carrying raw, undiluted toxic chemicals. I had inhaled a lot of it, and as a result, was seriously ill. As it so happens, I was unconscious for many hours. So, as I lay there, at peace, I felt something crawling on my head. I knew I had to get up, but for some reason, I still lay there, floating blissfully. And then I saw it in all its horror and disgust, the horrendous cockroach. Just as my hand was about to move to flick and kill that irritating creature, it spoke. Yes, it spoke. In a very cautious voice, it asked me, "Are you a human?" Though I was completely frightened, least to say taken aback at seeing a cockroach, that to talking, I willed myself to reply rather meek, "Yes, I am." "Oh, that's rather ironic, you see, as you were very inhumanely going to lick me away." "Well, because you cockroaches are so scary." "Scary? You call us scary? We don't even have teeth. What on earth are you scared?" "Stop talking nonsense. Why do creatures like you come into our homes in the first place?" "Oh, your home, you say. This was our home, the very land you stand on, and now you have stolen it and made it yours." "Well, isn't that the survival of the fittest? Anyway, we are responsible inhabitants of Mother Earth. Unlike you pests, we kill only when compelled to act in self-defense. It is not as if the rhinos roamed your streets or dodos waddled in your lawns. I can only wonder. Oh, how I wonder. They are non-existent now. It isn't of your doing, is it? Stop ranting. We'll do whatever we think is right. After all, we are the most powerful. I agree. This pest has no power and is completely helpless. However, this pest would like to ask you, oh, the great humans, how powerful were you against our hero, the supreme, the dreaded, the noble coronavirus when it came in 2020? Its hit has you down till 2023. Is this your power? Your might could not go against something so small. If I recollect, weren't you all scared and stuck up in your tiny little homes? Stop changing the topic. How is the environmental imbalance and you and me and the sleepy man connected? That were due to bats, not you nor your hero. This was the topic all along. It is not about your right and my wrong, his win and your loss. It is about our situation. Everything is interconnected, woven together to form the fabric we call reality. You humans have brought this upon yourself. The bats were just a medium. In reality, it was a glimpse of the wrath of Mother Nature. Look around the world. Temperatures are rising, glaciers are melting, forests are falling, the ozone is depleting, and so are you. Soon, this earth shall go into such a part of history where nobody would be left to read it. Honestly speaking, we've become more responsible after the pandemic. Our government are taking serious steps to decrease the carbon footprint. Can a leopard ever change its spots? You humans leave everything to your government and they care very less about it. They care for voters. As long as the propaganda gives them voters, they are happy. The carbon footprint decreased not because of you, but because of our hero. What can we do as individuals? Even as mighty as you might be, one can only do so much. Think intelligently and act humanely. Do the little you can. You're 1 in 8 billion. One species in 8.7 million. Half of them don't even do their little part. Regardless, you are the most blessed one. Blessed with brains and hands. Live and let live. Don't try to clean the oceans or save the animal populations. Nature will do it for us. What you have to do is stop polluting them and undoing our mother's work. Again, I remind you, there are 8 billion of you. The 8 billion who can make a difference. The moment he said that, I felt something pulling at me. And all of a sudden, I regained consciousness. In an instant, I was surrounded by family members, friends, doctors, and nurses. Tears and hugs only increased my confusion. In reality, it is not the cockroach that scares me, but our fate, our future. I wondered how would we end? Would we die of droughts or would we drown? Would we burn in fires or would we suffocate before them all? However and whichever way I see it, we might break our future. I was reluctant to accept this dire truth at first, but with a sickening realization, I had to accept it. Would we humans wipe out our own civilization? Would we humans be the last life on earth? Would we humans become the torch breakers? All I can see is that there are 8 billion of you and 8 billion of me. The 8 billion who can make or break our future. 8 billion of us. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Jayam, for keeping us engaged and entertained. That lively tete-a-tete with the cockroach was definitely one of a kind.
Often in our lives, we tend to put ourselves down without truly knowing what we are capable of. Next up, let's pull our socks up as we welcome Athar Krishna of 9th grade to inspire us to move beyond our boundaries through his talk, which will help you unleash your potential. Let's join Athar as his insights help us give flight to our unlimited potential.
Check, check. Check, 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 check. Check, check, check.
karate tournament. I was terrified. Despite my family and sensei being there, I felt alone, with no one to guide me through this. Because of that doubt, I ran away. Now, my sensei was an understanding man who assured me that it will never happen again. And it didn't. My mother had asked me to envision myself in the future and where I would like to be. I had always imagined winning that karate tournament. So I set small and basic goals that would help me get there. My sensei would have to push and correct me nearly every day to make sure that I was working towards reaching those goals. You know, I assumed that I could just watch and follow what others had done, and that would be my guide to success. But what I didn't realize was that all I needed to do to win each match was to be myself. Focus on those little things that I was good at and perfect them. Not to be a jack of all trades, but to be the master of the one that suited me. In that way, you could call me Mukesh Ambani, who became the richest man in India by focusing on his strengths. I even made an acronym to remember what I needed to do. Unleash, to unleash my potential. Understand yourself. Realizing that I was who I needed to be was way more important than anyone else or their abilities. Likes and strengths. I concentrated on what I excelled in and accepted that some things couldn't be changed. Everyone will accept what they want to. People judged me. But I had to be true to what I did best. Authenticity. Despite being similar to many others, I had to focus on what made me unique. Step out of your comfort zones. I had to continually work and practice for 1 whole year just to make sure that I wouldn't doubt myself the next time I went. Honor your unique strengths and values. I didn't give in to those expectations or pressure because I was trying to be my unique self. And that was how I discovered myself. A now more authentic me realized that if he wanted to achieve his goals, he would have to stop doubting himself. And so does every one of you out there. Now I want you to imagine you're in a race. You have been practicing for months, but you're still unsure of your chances of being placed well. You're getting really nervous. Then suddenly, the whistle sounds, and everyone is in high gear. You're in first for a bit, but slowly, one by one, the others find their ground, and they push you to last place. You feel such crushing pain in your heart. You decide maybe you should just give up. Now I too felt something similar. So let me tell you this. The reason you lost was not because you were bad. It's because you doubted your abilities. This is a little something called imposter syndrome. That voice inside our heads that whispers self-doubt. I had to overthrow this voice to recognize that I had what it took to be there, that I was good enough. I had to acknowledge my accomplishments and practice self-compassion to make sure that my negative self-talk would no longer guide me to failure. My mother and sister were the reasons I could get over such a dark phase of mine. And for you too, it could be anyone, that driving force in your world. Now, throughout my journey, I was put through a continuous cycle of watching inspirational movies and listening to beautiful stories. These stories helped change me for the better. They helped me create an understanding with my sensei, one that reminded the both of us of how much I wanted that win and how much he had been helping me achieve it. Finally, I realized that if we want to achieve our goals, we have to change our moods and our attitude. It's the journey that matters, not the destination. Now, there are two types of people who don't understand happiness. One, who bases his happiness completely on materialistic things, who is a victim to an endless material chase, who will never be truly happy because he doesn't understand that the truly happy people are those who learn to enjoy life with exactly what they have at each moment. That there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. The second is one who spreads negativity out into the world and gets an equal amount of it in return. What he doesn't realize, if you people want to be happy, you have to start spreading that into the world, like I had to do. Even when the time had come for me to showcase my talents once more, I wanted to be happy and smiling before every event to make sure that I would achieve that win. Every time I went in smiling, I gained a point. But whenever I went in scared, I lost the round. Like Usain Bolt, who reacted last to the gun, ran against the wind, didn't even tie his shoelaces, but he still broke the world record because he had gone in jumping. But something that actually put my family and my sensei to the test was emotional intelligence. That thing which empowers you to understand and manage your emotions while empathizing with others. That thing which contributes to the well-being of society. That is required to build a team that a patient looks for in a doctor. That thing which goes hand in hand with happiness to lay the base for you to grow out of your fears. After all of this continuous mental and physical practice, finally came that day. The day a year later of the tournament, where I went through to the end and I came in first. That joy was worth all the work. I want to end on this thought. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you make. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Athar, for taking us on this journey to explore ourselves. This insightful talk will help us all to discover our boundaries and stretch our limits until we unleash our potential.
Next up, we have our own Reshmika of IB second year guiding us through a session about human resilience. Thanks to TED, we're about to dive deep into the realm of human strength and adaptability.
Our speakers have some incredible stories and insights to share about triumphing over adversity. So get ready to be inspired as we explore the indomitable spirit that helps us rise above challenges stronger than ever.
Check. Check. A bullet just whizzed past your head. Whoa, that was close. But wait, now you can literally see an entire army marching towards you, armed with any weapon that you can and can't think of, ready to destroy you to pieces and erase you right down to the ground. And that's about when you realize that you're in the middle of a battlefield and the war has long begun. You turn around looking for your own army to support you. But wait, you don't even have one. Yes, and as the lore goes, you are a lone warrior. You have no one with you to pick you up when you fall down. You are a lone warrior fighting a giant army that's fully trained and highly equipped. Well, for the good news, you have one weapon, a sword. It is a powerful sword that's been passed down from generations, and with it, you're strong enough to face any ordeal that is thrown at you, bullet or otherwise. The hilt of the sword is engraved as resilience. That's just it, the ability that you possess to endure every bleeding cut and still be ready for the scars. This sword that you're holding has definitely been passed down from generations. The history of the human race is testament to our ability to overcome unimaginable challenges and to pull down the shadows of disparity that threaten to tear us apart. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I am a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Maya Angelou rose. She rose above hate. Hate for her gender, hate for her color. But amidst all of that, she knew one thing, that she had to rise. When his entire race was subject to slavery and inhumane torture, a man rose and said, I have a dream. When all she demanded was education, but instead got a bullet pierced through her head, a young girl persevered. She rose and said, I am stronger than all of my fears. When lives were taken, unaccounted for, and the rest of the world just watched on, we came together. We came together to fight this systemic racism, and we said, yes, Black lives matter. Through every single one of these social challenges, we have faced setbacks. We have faced dead ends. We felt like quitting. We felt like we could not go on. But no, definitely not. We persevere. We continue to find a way to fight through the innumerous challenges that life throws at us. I repeat my sentence. You are a lone warrior in the middle of a battlefield. You have no one with you, no one to pick you up when you fall down. But remember, you have one sword, resilience. Sharpen it well. Make mistakes. Accept your vulnerabilities. But treat yourself with kindness and you will find strength beyond measure. The most fitting way that I would like to end my talk today would be with an ode. Dear resilience, you have been a good friend. You've been around for me during all of those rough times. When I looked around for people to approve that I'm good enough and felt worthless when they didn't. When I let others dictate my thoughts. When I felt worthless, you were there. You were right there when you said that I am enough. You said no matter the mistakes, you have to sustain. You have to fight. When I blamed myself for not being perfect, when I permitted myself to feel undeserving, when I felt like crumbling down under pressure and giving it all up and quitting, you were there. You were right there when you said that I am enough. Self-made warrior, I stand here today. Without you, the battles would have been tough. Wielding you as a weapon, I stand here today. Dear resilience, I am unapologetic and unafraid to fail. Yes, I am unapologetic to fail, but to rise again. Dear resilience, you have been a good friend. Thank you.
A big thank you to Reshmika for sharing the stories of human resilience. Let's applaud her one more time for reminding us of the indomitable spirit that helps us conquer challenges.
Now we have Kanishta and Raghav to captivate us with their guitars. Let's hear it out loud for them. Thank you, Kanishka and Raghav, for that enchanting performance.
Now, we would like to invite our principal, Madam Rajeshwari, to come up on stage and felicitate the speakers. Speakers, kindly come to the stage in an orderly manner when your names are announced. First, we have Jayam Modi. Atharv Krishna. And finally, Reshmika. Thank you, Rajeshwari Didi, for felicitating the speakers.
Going further, we have our Rajeshwari Kejriwal for a captivating session that's all about unmasking the dark legacy. We are about to dive deep into history and reveal hidden narratives that have shaped our world.
Our incredible TEDx speakers are here to shed light on the shadows and challenge our very own perceptions. Brace yourselves for an intellectually riveting experience on the dark truth of eugenics.
Check. Okay. Sophia was just 14 years old when she witnessed her own sister, Isabella, being treated miserably, having to undergo forced sterilization. This meant removal of her reproductive organs, preventing her from ever bearing a child. Such a felony it is to strip someone of this basic right. But this was reality for not just Isabella, but countless other Latina women living in the United States during the 1900s. This brutal surgery was forced upon so many women, all in the name of correcting the human race. And the lives of so many humans lost. Unfortunately, this didn't just affect women, but millions of lives, creating ruin wherever it set foot. It was termed eugenics by Sir Francis Galton, which literally meant good creation. This movement aimed at improving the human race through the brutal, inhumane, and ruthless process of selective breeding, where only certain sectors of society were allowed to reproduce. This pseudoscientific ideology arose from Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. It was a gruesome misinterpretation, after all. I'm sure you must have heard the phrase, survival of the fittest. To you and I, it may just mean the continued existence of organisms which are best adapted to their environments and the extinction of those who couldn't. But to some, it meant the removal of those who were deemed unfit. Unfit meant people like Sophia and her sister. Unfit meant people who comprised of the minority of the population. Unfit meant people whose voices were never given an ear. These gruesome crimes of forced sterilization and even mass murder were all committed under the ruse of creating a better humankind. Humanity saw it first in Nazi Germany, when the cries of genocide echoed through the grim halls of the concentration camps. You heard that right. It was eugenics at the premise of the Holocaust, causing the death of millions of lives, of Jews, of homosexuals, of disabled, handicapped people, and minority social groups. Unfortunately, this movement just kept strengthening, even in the 20th century, the year of the revolution. But this time, women finally decided to raise their voices and be heard. They decided to stand up for what they believed was right. They didn't want any other women to face the inadversity that they had to. Sophia herself became an advocate against such injustice and cruelty. Her resilience became an inspiration to each and every one in her community, making them feel proud and not ashamed of who they were. That is the power of one voice. And Sophia and her sister's voices were just one amongst the million others whose voices were drowned in the sea of lies and propaganda. Her story is just one example of the harms that were caused by misinterpretation and distorting truths. Let Sophia's story become an example for not just that, but so much more. Let it serve as an example of how we should protect our human rights and challenge such prejudiced practices. There are still communities around the globe that continue using such a notion to overpower and suppress minorities. But as a wise man perfectly once put it, it is the only thing that we've learned from our past, and that is that we have learned nothing from it. Let us change for the bold and for the better. As ambassadors of our generation, it is crucial that we start prioritizing ethics and begin fostering the feeling of empathy within each and every individual. Let Sophia's story, from being a young girl who witnessed the horrors of forced sterilization, become an inspiration for all of us sitting here in this very hall and outside. For us and the generations to come, thank you.
Thank you, Rajeshwari, once again for shedding light on this completely new topic.
Following this, we will be taking a short break as we bid farewell to our grade 10 students. Let's take a moment to stretch our legs as we await yet another round of awesomeness from our TEDx speakers.
Check. A big welcome to our 9th grade students joining us for this program today. We start off with the most exciting speech which blends creativity with erudition. Let's hear it loud as we welcome Vanshika Khemani of grade 12 science on stage for her talk today.
This instrument that you just heard, it had a voice that rushes out from the deepest depths of my person, a voice which I call my mind. Thank you so much, Karthik sir, for playing that piece for me. So while you were hearing the piece played, how many of you were thinking about what errands you have left, or what time is it, or when will this talk get over? I'm sure you all had thousands of thoughts running inside of your mind. Some thoughts are even stronger than the others that you just can't help but introspect about it. Feeling confused? Let me help you picture a scenario from our daily life. As a morning alarm blares, we mutter to ourselves, why did I set it so early? Or while you're brushing your teeth, you think, oh, I need a haircut. Or when you're trying to remember your math formulas, you notice your classmate looking at you. These conversations are driven by the exact same strong thoughts that run around in our minds. We subconsciously engage in self-talk, and the thought of being caught feels very embarrassing. People even stigmatize this behavior as a sign of insanity. Let me tell you all a short story. When I was 8 years old, I always dreamed of becoming a politician. I would imagine myself being interviewed. I would act as if I was addressing the masses and answering their questions. Coincidentally, the masses looked a lot like my bedroom wall. And I would imagine myself being interviewed. I would talk about keeping the environment clean, living in unity, eradicating poverty, all of this in the sanctity of my own bedroom. However, it was strange indeed that the trials and tribulations of a public election weren't even my biggest concern. You know what it was? It was the fear of my sister walking in on me. I mean, what will she think? Will she laugh at me? How am I going to face her after this embarrassing situation? I think these are the situations that haunt us the most. Don't you all agree? The fact is, we just don't want to feel weird. In reality, we all have conversations with ourselves, sometimes in words and sometimes in thoughts. Good afternoon, everybody. Today, I would like to share with all of you what I discovered during my summer break. So before going for vacations, I had decided I'm going to prepare for my engineering exams and spend my vacations very productively. Naturally, there was so much I had to do. I was trying to remember the things that I had planned for that day. I was trying to recall everything that I had planned. And then, I heard myself. I heard myself talking to myself. Yes, talking to myself. As strange as it sounds to you right now, it felt even stranger to me at that time. I immediately opened my phone and Googled to see if it was okay to talk to yourself. Is it normal or am I going crazy? I was shocked to see what popped up on my screen. But first, I would like to address the social stigma associated with this behavior. I'm sure some of you seated here have experienced this yourselves. We have all heard the whispers and giggles that inevitably follows when someone else catches us talking to ourselves. As high school students, we face numerous challenges: academics, relationships, self-discovery, the pressure to fit in, excel in exams, and navigate an ever-changing world. It can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that talking to yourself could be your secret to success? That's exactly what I found out the other day. We all talk to ourselves through situations, good or bad. It is our inner cheerleader and our inner critic. Psychologists and researchers call this voice self-talk. Self talk helps us shape motivation. It calms our nerves, analyzes a tricky situation, and helps us to organize our thoughts in a better manner. Ever heard about manifestation? Those times when you think about something and it actually ends up happening? Yes. Now let me tell you all something. This manifestation is also a form of self talk. It is practice that benefits almost every area of our lives. It helps us empower us and become the best version of ourselves. It helps us to unlock the infinite potential we have and to create the life of our dreams. So recently, I was struggling to determine my career path and which colleges to apply to. I was overwhelmed by the numerous possibilities in front of me. I was scared. I was confused. My mind was clouded in self doubt. From there, my mind got caught up with the so called stigma of self talk. I wanted to try it and utilize it to navigate through this tricky situation of mine. I started by acknowledging my feelings, the uncertainty and confusion in my head. And instead of allowing them to consume me, I consciously tried to shift my mindset into believing in manifestation. Thus, I told myself each time, I am unsure right now, but I trust that I will discover my strengths and passion. I have various talents and I am capable of exploring new things. I will view this as an opportunity to understand myself better. After reiterating this to myself numerous times again and again, I started to believe in it. Eventually, believe in myself. This cultivated a sense of optimism in me, motivated me to do something about it rather than just spiral my thoughts downwards. I started to do research, spoke to a lot of adults who gave me advice on potential career paths. Additionally, I attended a few counseling workshops and got to know more about the various courses available. Although I know I'm not there yet, I know for sure that I'm not at the start line either. So I've been talking about positive self-talk this entire time. But it is also important to understand the difference between positive and negative self-talk and what impact each has. Most of us are critical to ourselves through situations. And when this behavior gets too frequent, it becomes toxic. Being kind to ourselves is very, very important as the inner dialogue we cultivate becomes a constant companion throughout our lives. That inner voice becomes your best friend you'll be talking to for many years to come. So, the next time you're talking to yourself and someone walks in, and if they ask you, bro, were you just talking to yourself? You can confidently reply, well, it seems like that's the only way to have an intelligent conversation around here. Thank you so much.
Let's give it up for Vanshika, who guided us in embracing our inner voice. Thank you for helping us discover the power within us and encouraging us to shape our destinies. Now, time for another break, friends. Music is a universal language that everyone can understand and enjoy. May we invite the CIRS band for an energetic performance. Let's give it up for the band.
Check, check, check.
Wouldn't wanna be anybody else. Yeah. Made me insecure. Told me I wasn't good enough. But who are you to judge when you're a diamond in the rough? I'm sure you've got some things you'd like to change about yourself. But when it comes to me, wouldn't wanna be anybody else. Na 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 na. beautiful. Who said? It's such a funny thing how nothing's funny when it's you. You tell them what you mean, but they keep writing out the truth. It's like a work of art that never gets to see the light. Keep you beneath the stars, won't let you touch the sky. Na 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 na. I'm no beauty queen, I'm just beautiful me. Na 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 na. You got every right to a beautiful life. Come on, who says you're not perfect? Who says you're not worth it? Who says you're the only one that's hurting? Trust me, that's the price of beauty. Who says you're not pretty? Who says you're not beautiful? Who says?
I think the band deserves a huge round of applause. Thank you, band, for such an energetic performance. That was really remarkable. Further down the line, we have Shreyansh Agarwal, waiting to blow our minds with exquisite insights into the evils of comparison. Let's welcome him to deliver the topic, Don't Compare Yourself to Others, Be You.
Check. I wish I had a job like him, a house like her. I wish that was me. He looks incredible. And look at me. Terrible. Guys, have you ever caught yourself doing that? You know, the comparison game. Guilty as charged. I have. Isn't it human nature to compare? Like, from the time I was a kid, I was built that way. Starting from kindergarten. Who's first? Who's second? Who's third? And just like everyone, I wanted to be at the top, whatever happens. Even at my home, it was like an unbroken record. See your brother, he got 95%. What about you? He is good at sports. What about you? Nowadays, social media has made this game even more intense. Scrolling through Instagram, seeing dream holidays, seemingly perfect lives, amazing fit bodies, and jaw-dropping achievements. Can you honestly resist comparing yourself? Most of us can't. But let me tell you, comparison isn't fair. And even if I have to compare, there's a lot of things. Suppose I were rich. Rich like number 4th on the Forbes. I'll still be mad at 3 other people who are richer than me. It's never ending. Let me tell you a story from my life. So I was jogging. I decided to jog 2 rounds every day. Started well, everything was going good. A few weeks passed by. I pushed myself, made it 3, then 4, then 5. I was on cloud 9. Hitting my target each day gave me different level of joy. But then it happened. I crossed path with a friend of mine who was training for a marathon. That guy was running and running and still running. 12 rounds, no sweat. How come? In front of him, my 5 rounds felt like a small fry. I lost the joy I had. Comparison crept in and killed it. I made a mistake, but I learned a lesson. I learned that comparison isn't fair because I was comparing my book's chapter 1 to his 10th. I was still in introduction, but wanted his climax. Even I saw his smile, but failed to notice the tear and
sweat he had behind it. That's a mistake we all generally make. We see others' results, but fail to see the hard work and determination they put into it. Plus, when we generally compare, we play a mix and match game. Like, you will want to be as rich as Elon Musk, have a body like Dwayne Johnson, voice like Charlie Puth, and still be a better footballer than Messi. Is that possible? No. Life's truth is that everyone is a package deal. You can't view one element of someone else's life in isolation. That's cheating. Everyone has pain in their lives. Do you remember that crow from that childhood tale who felt dejected as no one liked it? It wanted to be a parrot, mesmerized by its vibrant colors. It went to the parrot and said, "Oh parrot, I want to be like you. You are loved by everyone." The parrot looked at the crow compassionately and said, "Oh my friend, you are mistaken. Don't you see, people keep me in cage, away from my family and friends. I long to fly freely, but can't due to the confines of captivity." I think that crow in life is us, always criticizing our situations and earning to be like someone else when we don't need to, because there is no one in the entire world who can do a better job of being you other than you. Now, when you compare, you have two options. Either the person you are comparing with is better than you or worse. If he is better, you will suffer from inferiority complex. You will feel your self-esteem going down in front of your own eyes. You will feel you are not enough. Here, I have a gold chain with me. Imagine I put this in a blast furnace. What will happen? It will melt. It will not remain the same thing which it was in my hand. But fundamentally, the gold will still be gold. It won't change. Similarly, in life, you will have situations which will pressurize you. There might be moments where challenges are beyond your capacity. But remember, you are the gold. Never let your value go down. Let's have a deal. Every time life throws curveballs at you, you will remember you are the gold. I think I've spoken a lot about the problems. Let me tell you some solutions. To your surprise, the solution to such a big problem is just two words. Just two. Stop comparing. Stop comparing. Start competing. Start competing with yourself. With yourself, I mean you a year ago, a month ago, a week ago, or even a day ago. See, that's a game you can win. As rightly said by the author of Atomic Habits, James Clear, even if you improve by 1% every day, at the end of the year, you will be 37 times better than what you were. And let me tell you, the biggest competitors in the world are a lot less worried about the competition. Let's take, for instance, Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian ever. Do you think he knew how fast his competitors were going? No, there's no way. Every day he practiced. He practiced to make sure that his timing is not better than his competitors, but better than he could ever imagine. He fought with himself, not with anyone else. That made him who he is today, breaking his own record time and again. Similarly, in life, we should fight with ourselves. I think when I look at myself from myself back then, I am doing well. You should try it too. Now, I would like to leave you with just one thought. As surely as you know that the sky is blue and the sun rises from the east, you can't take a page or two from someone else's book and compare it to your entire book and call it a fair judgment. Even the saddest stories will have the pages of happiness, and even the happiest stories will have the pages of sorrow. That is all for today. Thank you.
Thank you for amazing insights, Shreyansh. I think we all needed that. Comparison might be immoral. However, it bestows immense moral strength when it is aimed towards oneness. It's now time to acknowledge the hard work put in by our speakers. May we invite our headmaster, Mr. Ganesh, to give away the memento. I request Rajeshwari, Vanshika, and Shreyansh to go on stage. Thank you, Ganesh sir, and the speakers. We are really grateful for your effort.
Next up, we are ready to be blown away by the words and dynamic energy of Yash Baisya as he elucidates the immense human cost of humanitarian crisis. Our amazing speakers are here to shed light on the profound impact of crisis on our shared humanity. Get ready to be moved by the stories of compassion and resilience.
Check. It's 8 p.m. Picture yourself engrossed in a hearty discussion with your neighbor when two complete strangers intrude upon your precious moment, snatching you away from everything you hold dear and knock you up in this cell where agonizing cries of friends who had disappeared weeks ago filled your ears, along with the sounds of their ribs cracking when subjected to unspeakable torture. How would you react to threats that now surround you? Threats that involve the torture and murder of your loved ones. Threats that demand information about protests and rebellions you have no knowledge about. All of this while being blindfolded and handcuffed, devoid of all basic necessities. Food, water, toilets, for who knows how long. These were the questions that plagued Viktor, a 50-year-old Ukrainian on the side of the road, 10 kilometers from his neighborhood, where all his limbs were broken and his body was left to rot. And no, despite most of us here giving up on him, Victor chose to walk those 10 kilometers and lived. On being interviewed, he says, "It was the greatest joy of my life. I was glad to be alive." All of us here, we crave for a successful future. Unfortunately, we have the potential to work towards it, along with the opportunity. Then we have us in the Central African Republic who strive for the next meal, while our kind in Sudan struggle for a roof over their head. Although we debate sanctions on Russia here, we wish for just another day of survival in Ukraine. We talk big about the weapons of mass destruction and their significance, but also suffer from genetic disruptions in Hiroshima. Isn't it amusing? We see everything. The crisis, the politics, the prayers, the geography, the economics, even the medias and celebrity. But fail to notice this one topic that is related to us as students, as civilians, and above all, as humans. And that is hidden to none of us. Yet, we fail to address this one thing that matters. The human cost, atrocities faced by humans in any humanitarian crisis, is the one parameter which details the gruesome nature of humanity, our dark sides, in vivid detail. It is rarely discussed and purged from history as numbers and facts help us hide this suffering and torture away. After all, how could one feel secure if they remember the costs of the two wars that shaped the 28th century? It is justified to feel unsafe in Syria. But why? Why is it acceptable to be vulnerable in Yemen? These crises inflicted by humans upon humans are too long to be included in this talk. Why do we continue to commit such horrendous casualties on such frequent intervals with such colossal destruction? How do we continue to purge them from histories and have such little empathy towards them? If we were to keep a 1 second silence in regard to every casualty in World War II, we would be silent. For over 3 years, while 28 people have lost their lives to water scarcity since the start of this talk, in just around 4 minutes. Despite such incomprehensible scale, why do we remain completely oblivious and spread hatred centralized around the same humans as us? Oppression is a product of this unfiltered hatred and insensitivity, while insensitivity to the ideas of others and interests creates conflicts between communities. Emerging conflict is driven by hatred, which triggers a rebellion among the oppressed. This increases insensitivity to the plight of humans in the two sides, creating this cycle which seems unbreakable until significant change in leadership aligns the two groups. This boils down to this one core question that I have for all of you today. I want you to keep this question in your mind till the end of this talk, and preferably for years to come. Who is responsible for these innocent deaths in a crisis? Are humans just fodder to our extravagant ideas? I come from the city of Visakhapatnam, and 2014 was a dreadful year for us. The lush and green of my city was washed away by the storms and winds of the cyclone Hudhud, which claimed 124 lives, took my school's building down, and triggered the biggest humanitarian crisis known to the city. However, the problems I faced were simple, yet grave. I had no access to food or drinking water. The electricity was down. The window in my living room was shattered while my parents were working to keep our house dry. Provisions of food came twice a day, with crowds flocking the trucks to gain a small share of a rather simple meal. Who should I blame for these problems? Who is responsible for this crisis? Government, policy, God? At the end, when I discussed it with my peers, we placed this burden on the mismanagement by the government. As an 8-year-old, again, it is indeed easy to blame others for our problems. However, looking back, my family lived rather comfortably through this crisis. We had access to backup power to keep our phones charged, enough food stashed for days, and water stored the day before the cyclone hit. And all of us here, we come from similar families where we have access to a lot. In fact, it is us who use over 80% of this world's resources. Have we ever given thought to our access and usage of these resources? Post the Hudud cyclone, I took up this campaign as an 8-year-old to get people like us to donate to the Chief Minister's Relief Fund. Posters, speeches, and discussions for hours helped me create an understanding towards the underprivileged during the cyclone who were rotting their lives away on the streets. Even as an 8-year-old, I could impact the way people think. However, today, the world around me is still as unmindful as those 8-year-olds who blamed others for our problems. Would it be too much for a person from the Democratic Republic of Congo to ask you to finish the food on your plate? Would you refuse a Liberian when all he asks of you is to turn the lights off when you leave the room? Are you hypercritical of those in Jakarta, Chad, and Maldives who plead to you to not consume meat on a daily basis or a regular basis? To all of you who answered positively to any of these questions, will you be responsible for these innocent deaths? Are you going to pay the human cost of humanitarian crisis? I know you're protecting yourself right now. This one argument is the reason behind the destruction and devastation brought by humans upon humans. This one line ensures that the human cost of humanitarian crisis remains subdued forever. You're protecting yourself with it right now. But how is this my fault? I cannot change anything. No, you are wrong. I blame every one of you with this squabble in your head for every innocent drop of blood spilled across 36 countries for over 2,000 years. For each one of those people starved during famines and droughts across 23 countries. And each one of those 108.4 million people forcibly displaced from their dear homes. You are the reason unspeakable incidents occur to thousands of victors across the globe. This is why today I'm here to empower you. I'm here to burn that ignorant self of yours to ashes. I will teach you how to exercise your power as citizens and ensure that humanitarian crises are adequately dealt with. I work towards this dream of a truly bright world, and this will be my first step towards it. Today, I will unveil the power of the 3 I's to all of you. Opening these 3 I's will be enough to build this toolkit of understanding across the various countries of this world and the various citizens of this world. Firstly, investigate. Alexei Navalny, a Russian citizen, disapproved of the corruption his government stood for. Since 2004, he has been the reason behind multiple disclosures about the Kremlin. He bought a minority stake in various government bodies, surveyed and interacted with various government officials, and checked various government projects. He used the internet, which all of us have access to spread the news about the corruption in Russian elections, government-run bodies, officials, etc. Learn more about any crisis in detail until you understand the facts objectively. This is how you will be able to form unbiased and clear opinions about them. Number 2, interact. I have interacted with those in regions of crisis to understand this phenomena we see from such a distance. And mind you, When the Lebanese explain their take on the economy and water conservation, it's a feeling, it's an experience. When those in Venezuela explain their take on the economy, it's an experience. Yes, I want all of you here to have this experience and understand this ground reality of our planet. This is how our country got independence in the first place, and I wish to revive this idea. Number 3, invigorate. If you still can't convince about the ideas and beliefs you have formed through investigation and interaction and reach conclusive bargains, your beliefs are flimsy, biased, and you need to be more accepting of potential compromises so as to include all of our opinions. I've hosted Modern United Nations as Secretary General. I'm the president of an economics and political forum. I have been on the editorial team for my school's creative writing. All of this comes with the pleasure of interacting with all of you and making a positive contribution to your lives. Yes, convincing you of my beliefs has been a rather enjoyable experience for me. And this platform, the past 13 minutes, has just been another one of my extravagant endeavors to reach you and connect with you. I want you to take events of such scale to put your message out there. And believe me when I say, it's very fulfilling. It's indeed very fulfilling. This will help us unite the power of people across the globe and reach an era where conflict will be solved through word, not through muscle. And we will be able to finally minimize the human cost during humanitarian crisis. Thank you.
Please join me in thanking Yash Besia for his enlightening talk on the human cost of humanitarian crisis. Let's show our appreciation for his insights on compassion and resilience, which is our only option to manifest a better world.
Now next up, we have Ryan Chatterjee of Class 9 to take us on a journey that is filled with human emotions. We are digging deeper into our dealings with guilt. Get ready to explore the complex details between our conscience and our actions. This is our chance to understand guilt in a whole new light and gain insights that could change the way you perceive the human experience.
Is it working? Check. To begin with, I have a small question to ask from the audience. Could everyone look around themselves and check who they're sitting with? I'm assuming most of them are your friends. Now I'm going to ask you all to recall a time where you've heard them, directly or indirectly, it doesn't matter. Do they know exactly what you did? Or better question yet, have you apologized for it? In case you've not, I'm sure you're all very familiar with the feeling currently bubbling inside your abdomen. To better put into words, how about this? Abandon rationality here for a second. Imagine a sort of hollow space in your chest. It doesn't hurt, but it feels empty, disconnecting you from others. Yet you feel as if there's something out there that is slowly crushing you. You're lost in yourself, regretting every single decision you have ever made that has led you right here to this point. That is guilt. When you wake up in the morning and choke on that very breath that is supposed to grant you life, that is guilt. Hi, I'm Ryan Chatterjee, and I'll be your speaker for the next couple of minutes, addressing exactly why we're so terrible at dealing with this one emotion that is supposed to be so small and insignificant. That is, of course, right up until it decides to swallow us whole, and suddenly you can't focus, you can't work, you can't sleep, you can't as so much as breathe without thinking about it.
Another thing about guilt is that most people tend to simply brush it off and ignore it, or worse yet, avoid it as a whole. And I was once one of those people. Every time the topic of guilt or emotions in general used to come up, I used to just shut my ears and change the topic. Accepting the fact that guilt is an actual problem real people have to deal with on a day-to-day basis is a major step forward. But now, moving ahead, comes the more important question. Where does it come from? Most often, guilt arises from a dishonest act, simply speaking. Now, the exact boundaries of this dishonest act vary from person to person, but it is more or less the same. Take an example. During my vacations, my family and I had ordered a pizza for my dad's birthday. And I reached for the last slice at the same time my mom was reaching for it. And then she said it was fine, so I took the last slice. But then the feeling I got the next time I looked at her face was just unexplainable. And that just goes to say that even the pettiest of things can make you feel the most awful guilt. And it doesn't even have to be related to an object. And yes, I know that this sounds like an over-exaggeration, but trust me on the fact that it's not. Like I said, guilt is a really annoying presence in our life, disrupting not only our day-to-day activities, but also hampering our precious productivity. And personally, I didn't really like this, so I turned towards the one thing that I thought would help resolve it for good. And I'm sure some of you have gone through this as well. The endless rabbit hole that is mindless distraction. I spent literal hours upon hours scrolling through reels on Instagram, and when that became ineffective, I switched to Netflix, then YouTube, until finally the entire day had just gone by, and I had achieved what? A grand total of nothing productive, sprinkled with a little bit of eye strain. And yes, I know this sounds very unrelated to guilt, but on the contrary, it has a lot of connections to it. These distractions occupy so much of our mind that we cease to even think about the guilt at hand. And psychology has even proven that choosing guilt as a coping and choosing distractions as a coping mechanism for guilt can lead to some really unhealthy habits. Actually, after a certain point in your near infinite scrolling sessions, you're going to realize something. You would have realized that you'd forgotten exactly what you were distracting yourself from in the first place. And since you'd forgotten the cause, you would have lost the effect as well, right? That's what I thought too. But turns out the answer is absolutely not. That dreaded feeling did not leave me alone, and it won't leave you alone either. And this is a massive flaw in our dealings with guilt. We, in our efforts to ignore a singular emotion, instead make it so much worse. That constant presence of a continuous thought of I have done something wrong negatively affects you, your family, your friends, your relationships, and any other acquaintances you might have. And unfortunately enough, this is a first-hand spiral into further anxiety and, of course, guilt. Keeping aside problems comes the more important question. How can we recover? The first and most important step to recovery is identifying the origin. Fully understanding what you're dealing with can go a long way to recovery. And secondly, once you've found the source of your guilt, it is crucial that you approach it as soon as possible. Suppose you've argued with a close friend of yours over a very important decision, and later you found out that yes, you were indeed wrong. The best way to deal with any guilt stemming from that situation would be to just go over and talk to them, rather than letting the events stew in both your minds. And in case you are actually best friends, devolve into passive-aggressive comments. Before I conclude, I would just like to mention that if you cannot charge into a situation head-on to deal with your guilt, it is always better to talk to someone you trust, someone who you know won't judge you, a neutral third party. Unburdening your guilt is a really important step to recovery. It can help lighten the weight on your shoulders, literally, as guilt often tends to manifest as a metaphysical burden on your chest. It is always better that when you discuss it finally with someone else, it helps you feel a whole lot more freer. People have told me during my own dealings to just forget about it and move on with life. And that sounds so easy, but that has as much use as telling a person with asthma, oh, there's so much air in the atmosphere, why don't you just breathe? Because there's no good reason in make-believing that the guilt you feel now, or that the guilt you might feel someday is irrelevant and therefore should be ignored. Eventually, it will affect you. And when that eventuality arrives, you need to be prepared. There is only so long that you can sit in denial. I actually have this little quote that resonates with me even today. Do not go gently into that good night. Do not sink into your hopelessness and despair. Do not give in to your guilt. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
Guilt becomes the ghost that haunts the conscience, a constant and haunting reminder of our very own fragile humanity. The only triumph over it is to speak now or suffer forever in silence. Thank you.
A huge thank you to Ryan Chatterjee for exploring our dealings with guilt. Let's applaud for him helping us navigate the complexities of human emotions. While we are all engrossed in the talks, let's take a small break. We have a special dance performance by Tavishi, Nandini, and Bhavika.
जाने क्या हो अब आगे रे रात को जब चांद चमके जल उठे तन मेरा मैं कहूँ मत करो चंदा इस गली का फेरा रात को जब चांद चमके जल उठे तन मेरा मैं कहूँ मत करो चंदा इस गली का फेरा आना मोरा सैया जब आए चमकना उस रात को जब मिलेंगे तन मन मिलेंगे तन मन पिया तो से पिया तो से पिया तो से नैना लागे रे नैना लागे रे जाने क्या हो अब आगे रे नैना लागे रे पिया तो से नैना लागे रे
Thank you, dancers, for such a mesmerizing performance. Following this, we have another one of our heroes from 9th grade. We have such a huge grade 9 audience here. Let's hear it loud for Aniruddha Koganti as he prepares a powerful talk. As he prepares a powerful talk on mindful consumerism in an increasingly materialistic society.
Check. During my summer vacations, me and my family were on an adventure of house cleaning. Lucky me, I found an unopened set of chessboards. Wow, wonderful. Then I found a sealed set of pencils, a bottle opener, a bottle, a new school bag. Hey, your back to school shopping is done, my mother entered exclaiming. I was not so excited as I would miss an outing. I said, Amma, these many unopened items. She said, yeah, do not worry. Come, eat something. Inside the kitchen cupboard, 4 more unopened boxes. New juicer, new cutlery, and blah, blah, blah. The list is endless. Thank God I'm not alone, I explained. We both looked at each other and laughed. A dad and elder brother were in the same situation whilst trying to settle drawing room and dad's office room. Oh, we are a complete family. As we sat around the coffee table, we realized that these issues were not just personal ones related to this home, but broader ones plaguing society. The allure of consumerism had blinded us, leading to unnecessary purchases and accumulating articles that we hardly needed. But why and how? The biggest cause of all, human temptations. In a world filled with endless choices and irresistible temptations,
Impulse buying, led by instant gratification and greed, can lead to regret and a cycle of consumption. Online shopping worsens the situation by causing excessive waste and unsustainability. Recognizing the power of temptations is vital in gaining control over spending habits and finding fulfillment in more meaningful endeavors rather than material possessions. But how can we combat temptations? I think the best answer to this is mindful consumption. Mindful consumption is vital for making thoughtful choices in sustainability. Think of it as an iPhone. The new 14 comes out, you buy it. 15 comes out, you buy it. For what? Greed. You already have one. You just forgot about it. You already had one and you forgot about it. Why? Because of greed. The need. You don't need it, but you want it. That's the problem here. In our pursuit of becoming mindful consumers, it's crucial to recognize that this shift is not about depriving ourselves. Instead, it is about finding fulfillment in more meaningful experiences. Now let's hear about a girl named Lily. Lily was a fashion enthusiast. She used to buy fashion articles whenever and wherever she found them. Once in a shopping mall, she stumbled across a pamphlet. She read it aloud. Mindful consumption. She didn't know what it means. She just kept it in a bag and went home. After 6 months, she was cleaning her house. Then she found the pamphlet again. It struck her. All the times she had bought for greed. All the money she had wasted. All the resource she had wasted. Then realization struck her. She started making more ethical and sustainable choices. She changed her family and friends. This story right here demonstrates how one person can change the world around themselves by making one mindful choice at a time. Now let's talk about me. During one of the outings, I went to a Mac store to buy clothes and I saw a sale on one of the polo t-shirts. I didn't actually need one, but I kept making reasons that I wanted, blah, 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 blah. Still, I bought it anyways. But after I came home, I kept it in my cupboard, I left it alone, and after 6 months, I had a formal occasion. I had to wear the shirt. It was nowhere to be found. I looked up and down the house, nowhere to be found. Then I realized I had bought the t-shirt, but I forgot where I kept it because I didn't need it. If I had needed it, I had remembered where I kept it. Then I understood what mindful consumerism is. Mindful consumerism is the impact that changes you till the end of your life. It teaches you how to need, not how to want. In conclusion, I would like to say that mindful consumption brings significant positive impact to our lives. By changing small and minute things in our daily lives, such as reducing waste, supporting an ethical company, can lead to fostering a brighter and more ethical future for all of us and the planet around us. You know, I heard someone say this. We are all mindful from one degree or another. It's an inherent human capacity. Together, let's change the world one mindful choice at a time. The future starts with us. Thank you.
Let's show our gratitude to Aniruddha with a warm round of applause for guiding us in mindful consumerism. Thank you for reminding us of the power of our choices hold and, of course, how to shop well when we visit a mall. Now, we would like to call upon Sharanya ma'am to felicitate the speakers. I would like to invite Yash Besia, Ryan Chatterjee, and Aniruddha Koganti on stage. Thank you, Sharanya ma'am, for felicitating the speakers.
Next up, we have Flowing with Fear. Today, Rahi Shah of IB second year will explore the intricate details between courage and trepidation. Our amazing TEDx speaker is about to take us to a journey to psychology of fear. Brace yourselves for a thought-provoking ride that will help you navigate fear and embrace its power to drive you forward.
Check, 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 check. Hello, check. Those heart-pounding, spine-tingling, palm-sweating seconds. Those anxiety-infested experiences. In all probability, most of you already know what an appointment with fear looks like. Fear loves playing hide and seek with our sanity, and it can make the bravest of souls quiver like jelly as fast as you can say, boo. Fear is a natural instinct, and it's survival instinct for us to be afraid. And the only cure we get to this is being told, hey, don't be afraid. It's all right. That is the same thing I told myself before coming on this very stage. But I think we've been looking at fear through the wrong lens. And maybe there's a different approach. That is what I'm about to show you today. Again, fear is a survival instinct. It's natural for us to be afraid because our brain senses danger and creates this fear inside us, which makes us avoid the situation, be it tall buildings or tiny spaces. Even when we are doing absolutely nothing, our brain senses fear when it notices either one of attention, struggle, or uncertainty. Unexpectedly, the problem arises when one of this, attention, struggle, and uncertainty, can be seen even in opportunities. What does this mean? There is fear in opportunities. What, why, how? Let me explain. Allow me to introduce to you your favorite stuntman, Mr. Batowski. Now, Kick Batowski here is about to do a stunt, something like juggling swords. Crazy, right? Most of us would probably faint before trying it out, keeping aside doing it in front of a huge crowd, like Kick here. So let's delve deeper into what's going on in Mr. Batowski's mind. We can see that there's attention he's going to get from the crowd around him. Obviously, there's struggle in juggling swords with bare hands, and there's the uncertainty factor, which plagues his mind into wondering if he will get an applause or an ambulance. Seeing then there's attention, struggle, and uncertainty clearly indicates that there will be fear, which is most likely going to make him say, I think I'll pass. Now, because of this fear, he's getting devoid of an opportunity. The speaker before me had this exact same fear when they were under the spotlight. And it is this exact same fear that drags us right down into the wells of failure. But if he or she avoided the situation, they would be losing on a chance to grow. You see where I'm getting at? The problem is, our minds can't differentiate between a dangerous situation and an opportunity to grow, and responds with fear for both these situations. Which is the reason why I tend to procrastinate. My brain senses struggle in doing my assignments, and so prefers to do something else, and is also the reason why I run to bed after turning off the lights, and is the reason why my stomach is into knots while talking in front of a huge audience. But because of this fear, we place boundaries on ourselves. Some didn't get to the college they were too scared to apply. Few don't meet a good friend because they were too scared to approach them. This instinct of fear is great for survival. However, as we evolve and as our lives turn complex, the need to change how we understand fear becomes bigger and bigger. Our minds have weaved a pattern of paranoia, and the time to break it is now. We live in fear only a small part of our lives, right? And this fear isn't necessarily induced from reality. Our minds conceive it much bigger through our vivid imagination. In other words, overthinking. I personally am a master at it. Roman philosophy suggests that we often suffer greater in our imagination than in actuality. We tend to ponder upon the what ifs. What if I lose my match? What if I fail my test? And in the end, what we do is, well, nothing. The Romans called this premeditatio malorum, or what we can call it today, preconceiving the worst case scenario. Our minds go through this thousands of times every day. And where it may look appealing to some, yet all it does is sicken our brain with anxiety and agitation. Our very own mind robs us of opportunities to grow with the grand entrance of fear. Instances can be seen almost every day. So the immediate question comes is, how can I get rid of fear so that I can actually step out of my comfort zone? And the answer to that is, well, drum roll, to ask a different question. Our brain is a machine, electricity and chemicals. And fear is this machine's SOS mechanism. And if we try to get rid of it, it is going to backfire. Again, it is the basic survival instinct. We have looked at fear for centuries as an enemy, a pesky little thorn that comes on our way, instead of a companion that pushes us. So now, instead of asking how to tackle fear, the correct question to be asked is how to flow with fear when not in danger, obviously. If we understand how this works, we can use it to our advantage. When our brain hits the panic button in a positive situation, it's a signal that you are in a good learning experience. When someone tells you, hey, don't be afraid, your brain might think, oh no, I'm not supposed to feel this way. Maybe I'm not ready. And it's all downhill from there. Instead, we accept the fear, acknowledge it, and then realize that this situation is conducive for your growth. Elizabeth Gilbert, an American journalist, says it's wrongful to be fearless. Rather, we should go on a journey where fear is invited. Keep fear in the backseat, she says, knowing that you can't kick it out of the car anyway. But this still doesn't stop the fear. Even right now, at this very moment, my brain is freaking out, and I'm stunned how the stage is not trembling. But I chose to flow with fear. Flowing with fear is a skill, so you get better at it as you practice. And as you do so, you're preparing yourselves for the big leaps out there. And I hope this made it slightly easier to do so. So don't try to stop fear. Flow with fear. Thank you.
Fear can be truly terrifying, but thanks to Rahi, we know how to use it and turn it from a weakness into a strength now. Let's hear it out loud for Rahi Shah for such an enlightening talk. Now let's sit back and enjoy a musical performance by Raghav and Anant.
Check. Today was gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. Backbeat, the bubbles on the street, that the fire in your heart is out. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but you never really had a doubt. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. And all the roads we have to walk are winding. And all the lies that lead us there are blinding. There are many things that I would like to say to you, but I don't know how. 'Cause maybe gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my wonderful. Today was gonna be the day, but they never threw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. And all the roads we have to walk are winding, and all the lies that lead us there are blinding. There are many things that I would like to say to you, but I don't know how. I said maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. But after all, you're my wonderful. I said maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my wonderful.
Thank you to Raghav and Anand for such a soothing performance. One of the most fascinating phenomena in the world is the night sky. Today, we have our very own Adhavan Divakar taking us into a sojourn through the mysteries of the night sky. Let's gear up to hear from the person who does not shy away from a heartfelt conversation with the vastness above. Over to Adhavan of IB second year to the subtle art of stargazing.
Check, 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 check. $93 billion. Just another really large number. Am I right? Well, partially. It is a really large number. Yet, it has an uncanny significance in our day-to-day lives. 93 billion is the spatial diameter of our universe. It's a really, really big place. But so what? When we hear astronomical facts and data, I believe that repeatedly being exposed to really large numbers and figures, coupled with the systematic toning down of these magnitudes through the use of appropriate units, has desensitized us to this amazing scale that our universe works in. Here's a little example. By far, the most common way of measuring distances in astronomy is the light year. And I'm sure we've all heard of it at some place or the other. Yet, how many of us truly know the exact distance that one light year represents? Let me tell you, a single light year is 9 trillion kilometers. 9 trillion. Here's something to help you understand that. 45 years ago, we sent Voyager 1 into space. And since then, it has become the farthest man-made probe from Earth. Traveling at an incredible speed of 36,000 kilometers an hour, it has traveled 23 billion kilometers since the day it was launched in 1977. This probe was humanity's big shot. It was the culmination of the brightest minds and best technology we had on Earth. One attempt to send something as far as possible from Earth. Yet, even with this, humans have only managed to go
0.002 or 2/1000ths of a light year from Earth. Our universe functions on the scale of millions and billions of these units. That's where we've gotten. Now, where do we humans come into this picture? One thing that we've grown increasingly good at over the many, many years of our continued existence is giving ourselves more credit than we deserve. Look at some of the names we call ourselves: intelligent species, evolved beings, and you'd be inclined to think that we'd held some special, heightened position in this universe. Yet, that could not be farther from the truth. All that I've said up until now, all these facts and figures are an attempt to make you realize how minute we are in this space that we live in. It is this fundamental realization that we are so small in comparison to the awe-inspiring processes and phenomena that fuel this living, breathing cosmos around us, that I believe offers a solution to one of humanity's longest standing problems: conflict. Confused? Let me explain. As Albus Dumbledore so rightly says in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, we humans do have a knack for choosing precisely those things that are worse for us. Though said by a fictional wizard in a fictional universe, this quote aptly describes how we as a species have behaved for almost all our existence. We have chosen bombs over brotherhood. We have chosen swords over sympathy, and we have chosen guns over goodwill. All in all, we have chosen war, violence, and conflict over peace and collaboration. What's more, we don't seem very intent on stopping anytime soon. In the past 3,400 years, we have been at peace for a mere 268. That, my friends, is 8%. For 92% of modern human history, we have been terrorizing our brethren. We have been killing our kin, and we have been inflicting pain and suffering on our own brothers and sisters. In the 20th century alone, the death toll from armed conflict was placed at a staggering 108 million people. Once again, I think that number is a little hard for us to wrap our heads around. So I'll give you something to put it into perspective. If you maintained 1 single second of silence for everyone on that list, just 1 second, you'd have to be quiet for 3.5 years. 1 second, 3.5 years. It's shocking, really, what we humans are capable of doing to ourselves. Somehow, right when we need it the most, we tend to lose our basic human qualities of empathy and humanity. Yet, to this mindset of conflict and violence, I believe that one can find the answer in the stars. I think it comes down to one fundamental question. Why? Why does war occur? How can we justify the scores of destructive actions that we have committed throughout our history? Analyze most of modern events, and this will come down to 3 points: land, money, and most important of all, power. The quest to conquer the world has been something that humans have been obsessed with for centuries, from Alexander the Great to Napoleon to Adolf Hitler. We've always wanted more land, more money, and more power. Seemingly the 3 things that humans across history have desired. Now, one can't be blamed for associating the pursuit of these things with success. I mean, being the richest person alive, the most powerful man in existence, or the ruler of all land on earth seems pretty sweet. However, we as a species have vastly overstated the stature that these things carry. In other words, we've put them up on a pedestal and given them importance that they frankly should not have. I'd like you all to take a look at something. Take one long look at that. That is neither a blank screen, nor is it an empty picture. That is an image of the Earth. In 1990, as Voyager 1 was preparing to leave the solar system, after completing its primary mission, its cameras were turned back one last time and they took a picture of our blue planet. And that is it. From a distance of 6 billion kilometers in the interstellar dark, our Earth is less than a single pixel big, surrounded by a vast, dark envelope of space. It is this stark realization that we do not indeed hold some privileged position in this universe that has made this picture synonymous with the feelings of unity, cooperation, and oneness that astronomy invokes in a person. The same year, Carl Sagan, the astronomer at whose bequest the photo was taken, commented on what he thought a greater significance of the image. In his now famous speech, he outlines one major point. Every human being you know, every person you've ever heard of, and every single human who ever was lived out their lives on that fraction of a dot. I don't know about you, but for me, that hit hard. On an intellectual level, that makes sense. A permanent human settlement outside of Earth doesn't exist. Yet, this simple image so elegantly portrays the fragility of humankind and the folly of the exalted positions we humans have given to ourselves. Now, back to conflict and the three things that drive it: land, money, and power. For most of human history, we've killed, plundered, looted, and murdered our brethren for fleeting, brief control of that single dot. We have enacted unspeakable cruelties on the inhabitants of this planet for the very reason that they speak a different tongue or perhaps have a different tone of skin. We've amassed mountains of wealth and spelled out the fate of millions of people, yet failed to recognize the responsibility that we owe towards that little dot and all those who live on it. When Edgar Mitchell, an astronaut on Apollo 14, first saw the Earth from the moon, he remarked, "You develop an instant global consciousness." We love to flaunt our identities as those with a sixth sense or as intelligent species, yet lions don't hunt and kill their own kind. Tigers don't rip apart other tigers just because their stripes are colored differently. A bald eagle doesn't prey on a golden eagle just because its feathers are different. In all the time that we have been on this planet, we have failed miserably at practicing such a basic, fundamental human quality: compassion. Can't two people of different skins live together in harmony? Can't a Muslim and a Hindu work together to change the world? And don't get me wrong, this isn't just about the 8 billion people who live on this earth with us. This isn't just about all those suit-clad politicians sitting in their offices and making world policies. This is about us, each and every one of us seated here today. This is about every unnecessary fight we had and every difference we could not solve. This is about every time we've made fun of somebody for being different. This is about every time we've made somebody feel bad about themselves for no fault of their own. Discrimination may be a word that seems really far-fetched to us, but the truth is, we're pretty bad at accepting differences. Let us take one more look at that dot. In the grand scheme of things, we are separated by less than a pixel. What could possibly go wrong if we set aside our differences, set aside our innate prejudices, and accept one another? Time and time again, when visionaries have tapped into the amazing power of human collaboration and broken barriers in the name of humanity, amazing things have been achieved. Why can't we do the same? Is it really that hard to get over these superficial differences? Billions of people before us have failed, but I think it's time for us to change the world for the better. Think of the planet right now. I'm not saying it's all bad. No, definitely no. There are amazing people doing amazing things that deserve nothing short of recognition and credit for their work. Yet, there's a side to it we can't ignore. Think of all the people being persecuted as we speak. Think of all the innocent victims of war. Think of every person firing a bullet or a rocket at another inhabitant of this tiny dot. And think of all the people on the receiving end of those pointless weapons of torture. I want you to think about all of that. Now, imagine a world where peace and harmony are the norm. A world where conflict, violence, and hate are things of the past. A world where every person has the right to equal opportunity, regardless of caste, creed, or religion. A world where every man, woman, and child can gaze up at the starry night sky in awe of this beautiful creation all around us, together, as brethren, as one. In a few short years, our generation will be at the helm of this planet, and its fate, along with those of all its inhabitants, lies with us. I'd like to leave you all with a quote from Carl Sagan, right after he saw Voyager's iconic image. To me, the picture underscores a sense of responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. Thank you.
Thank you, Adhavan, for showing us the simple art of looking at the sky and inspiring us to appreciate the wonders above.
For the last and the final speaker, we welcome the ever-dynamic Charuvi Agarwal with her ever-cheerful presence and extraordinary creativity. Charuvi is a force to be reckoned with. Let's lend our ears to her as she regales on us of fear of wands. Over to Charuvi Agarwal of IB second year.
Check. First off, before we begin, let's talk about wanting. Yeah, I see those guilty faces. You want that extra ice cream. You want your favorite show's new season to drop already. We want things all the time. But let's push the pause button on that for a sec. The wants I'm talking about are scarier and deeper, because these wants are tethered to expectations, and they require hard work and dedication to achieve. Say, a place on the school basketball team, or the lead role in a play, something that sets your heart racing, the ones that seem just out of reach, almost like a slam dunk when you're a solid 1 foot below average height. When we want something that bad, it's often because we or others expect us to achieve it. I see expectations as invisible strings, puppeteering me. And more often than not, I found myself dancing to tunes I would never choose for myself. Personally, the heaviness of my expectations, or even worse, others' expectations, is something that weighs me down a lot. It makes taking every step a little heavier and a lot harder. And that's not even mentioning the fear of tripping and dropping all those expectations to the floor. Feeling not good enough. Feeling like a disappointment. Sound familiar? Feeling like you've been benched in the game of life. We sometimes want things so much, we end up diluting our self-worth to achieving it.
Let me illustrate this. Imagine a courtroom. There's a judge, a prosecutor, a defendant, and the defense. There's only one difference. And this sets it apart from the rest. It's located right here. Yep, right there, in our minds. Now, the trial that's about to happen requires your full attention, because the person on trial is none other than your self-worth. And the judge, the presiding authority, is you. The issue is, we have a very strong prosecutor. Pretty seasoned guy, actually. He's determined and cunning. And honestly, he's very well known to most of us here. In fact, I don't mean to brag, but him and I are on a first-name basis at this point. Please meet fear of failure. He relentlessly makes arguments to prove that self-worth here is weak and deficient. He pulls out his briefcase, full of what-ifs and remember-whens, and begins. Remember that time you registered as an individual player in a tournament? They put you on one of the best teams, and it made you really happy, because you love the sport, and you're pretty good at it, aren't you? And yet, you were so scared. So remember what you did? Yeah, you undersold yourself. You said, I don't really know how to play that well, and it's been a long time since I've even touched the ball. Nonsense. All that, so even a stumble forward seems like a win. No disappointment, right? Now I wonder, why would you do that if you believed in yourself? Isn't this itself proof that you aren't actually good enough? At this point, our defense was in need of some saving, and so was our judge, as she thought, well, he's not wrong.
First off, before we begin, let's talk about wanting. Yeah, I see those guilty faces. You want that extra ice cream. You want your favorite show's new season to drop already. We want things all the time. But let's push the pause button on that for a sec. The wants I'm talking about are scarier and deeper, because these wants are tethered to expectations, and they require hard work and dedication to achieve. Say, a place on the school basketball team, or the lead role in a play. Something that sets your heart racing. The ones that seem just out of reach. Almost like a slam dunk when you're a solid 1 foot below average height. When we want something that bad, it's often because we or others expect us to achieve it. I see expectations as invisible strings, puppeteering me. And more often than not, I found myself dancing to tunes I would never choose for myself. Personally, the heaviness of my expectations, or even worse, others' expectations, is something that weighs me down a lot. It makes taking every step a little heavier and a lot harder. And that's not even mentioning the fear of tripping and dropping all those expectations to the floor. Feeling not good enough. Feeling like a disappointment. Sound familiar? Feeling like you've been benched in the game of life. We sometimes want things so much, we end up diluting our self-worth to attaining it. Let me illustrate this. Imagine a courtroom. There's a judge, a prosecutor, the defendant, and the defense. There's only one difference. And this sets it apart from the rest. It's located right here. Right there, in our minds. Now, the trial that's about to happen requires your full attention because the person on trial is none other than your self-worth. And the judge, the presiding authority, is you. The issue is, we have a very strong prosecutor. He's determined and cunning. And honestly, he's very well known to most of us here. In fact, I don't mean to brag, but him and I are on a first-name basis at this point. Please meet Fear of Failure. He relentlessly makes arguments to prove that self-worth here is weak and deficient. He pulls out his briefcase, full of what-ifs and remember-whens, and begins. Remember that time you registered as an individual player in a tournament? They put you on one of the best teams, and it made you really happy because you love the sport, and you're pretty good at it, aren't you? And yet, you were so scared. So remember what you did? Yeah, you undersold yourself. You said, I don't really know how to play that well, and it's been a long time since I've played anyways. Nonsense. All that, so even a stumble forward seemed like a win. No disappointment, right? Now I wonder, why would you do that if you believed in yourself? Isn't this itself proof that you aren't actually good enough? At this point, our defense was in need of some saving, and so was our judge, as she thought, well, he's not wrong, and honestly, I didn't score a single goal that game anyways. But lucky for us, a trial isn't one-sided. We also have a defense. Their job is to argue in favor of self-worth and provide a different perspective. The first defense attorney, Resilience, perks up. She says, honestly, I think this is a wholly biased argument. Sure, she didn't perform that well. However, she took the feedback, dusted herself off, and tried again. She joined the team and played with them thereafter, regardless of all the expectations from the coaches and the players piling up. She strived through it all as she decided that if someone expected her to convert that goal, if she was in a position to let them down in the first place, that meant only one thing. They believed in her. They believed she could pull it off. Yeah, that doubles the shivers, doesn't it? Now if she doesn't succeed, she's not just letting herself down, she's also letting 10 other people down. A double-edged sword. That's what I call expectations. People believed she could do it. But people believed she could do it. Suddenly, the courtroom felt a little quieter. It was as if an eerie silence was spreading. And the next thing we know, Fear of Failure's quiet and almost always asleep sidekick is walking up to the judge with a growing smirk as he says, what you did was perfect. Why put in all that effort and risk disappointment when you could just not? You've already undersold yourself. Anything you do is going to seem great anyways. Sure, you won't reach the stars, but hey, at least you won't fall flat on your face. He walks back, satisfied. He's happy she chose the safer path, because this means his job is done. The thing with him is, as fear of failure paralyzes us and prevents us from stepping outside of our comfort zones, complacency here makes us feel okay about it. He, my friends, is a master of keeping things status quo. His motto is simple: settle and don't risk failure. No biggie. This way, we can simply limit our effort and protect our self-worth. Total win-win, right? This seriously ticks off effort, the second defense attorney. How can this lazy airhead invalidate him like this? Excuse me, he says, but the fact that she showed up to play with a random team, the very act of performing at the tournament stands testament to her self-worth. Isn't the fact that she tried, despite the fear of failure, something to be proud of? Yes, yes it is. Fear of failure, fear of expectations. They go hand in hand. However, they can be detached. Expectations, as we know, can go two ways. We either succeed in meeting them or we don't. It's a 50-50. But when complacency comes in and we don't even try, that is a 100% chance of not succeeding. Except we don't feel worthless. We don't feel, as we call it, not good enough. We feel only regret, with a little bit of doubt to escape this cowardice. You see, when there's doubt prevalent, we'll never have a reality check. We'll never let ourselves have that damned evidence that we're not good enough. There's always a possibility that we may have been able to achieve it if we tried. It's like a safety net we've woven ourselves if we fall. We let ourselves live in complete possibility, in complete delusion. So yes, you'll never find out you're not good enough, but you'll also never know how truly boundless you are. We keep forgetting that we are the judges. Fear of failure may provide compelling arguments, but it's us who decides whether or not to accept them. You know that quote, have no expectations and never be disappointed. Yeah, that. Mildly put, it's the stupidest thing I have ever heard. It's like coasting through life in the back seat, and it's about as fun as watching paint dry. So yes, you won't be disappointed, but you'll also never know the thrill of hitting the high notes when you're an only bathroom singer and achieving something you never thought you could. Swerving expectations is missing an opportunity to perform, to push beyond what you ever thought possible. Instead, we can dare to expect, dare to want, and dare to hope. There will be disappointment, but that's good. It's like that horrid coach that makes you sweat and pant, but you get better regardless. So don't fear wants and expectations. Hug them, embrace them, clap them on their backs, and fuel them with effort and resilience. Because the views from the deep waters, it's absolutely liberating. You can't possibly compare it to the shallow bits. In the end, I want to leave you with just one question. Will you really give your best if you have nothing to lose? Survival instincts don't kick in until your life is in danger. Maybe, just maybe, if you let yourselves have something to lose, if you let yourselves be in a position to be disappointing, if you let others count on you, you can be limitless. Thank you.
That was really fabulous and a thought-provoking speech, Charuvi. I think all the speakers deserve one more huge round of applause for a series of inspiring, intriguing, and powerful talks. Now, for acknowledging the sheer determination and hard work of the speakers, may we invite Brahmachari Sanatan Chaitanya to give away the memento. I request Rahi, Adhavan, and Charuvi to come up on stage. Thank you, Sanatanji, and the speakers for your sincere efforts. Now, for the last performance of the day, we have an interesting dance for you all. I'd like to call upon our director, Swami Anukula Nandaji, to share a few words on today's event.
Check. Hari Om, everybody. So first of all, my appreciation to all the organizers and the speakers for this fantastic and beautiful program. It's always most wonderful when we take the initiative because this is the first time that this group would have ever done it. And of course, I'm sure that more teams will always remember this first group of people who brought up this initiative of the TED CIRS. So congratulations once again to all the organizers and all the speakers. You think you know, of course, can be a question. However, it also becomes a beautiful exclamation as I saw it there, because you know only if you think. So in that way also, you think, and then you will know also becomes perfectly right. So whoever brought up this wonderful caption, very, very, very well thought of. Congratulations for that as well. We have the capacity to grow beyond what we are every moment of our life. And this TED event has really helped not only these 15 speakers, but has helped all of us go through a lot of thinking, go through a lot of understanding, go through a lot of reminiscence of different ideas. So thank you once again, and my special congratulations to all the teachers and all the technicians here who made this wonderful work possible. Thank you very much. Hari Om. See you.
Thank you, Swamiji, so much for such amazing words. As we come towards the conclusion of our event, we cannot forget to express our gratitude to the numerous people who have put in all their time and efforts to make this event a huge success. First and foremost, we would like to thank the school management, Rajeshwari Didi, Swamiji and Ganesh sir for providing us with such amazing opportunity to bring out our skills. Next, we would also like to thank Sanatanji, Sharanya ma'am and Bhuvneshwari ma'am for always being there and guiding us throughout the process of organizing this event.
We would also like to thank IT department, Anush sir, Siva sir and Arun sir for the cameras, recording, video editing, live streaming and for stage setup.
We would also like to show our heartfelt gratitude to Sumati ma'am and Krishnakant sir for always being there and giving us our insights on the talks that were presented today.
We would like to thank the music department and especially Karthik sir for helping us with all the fillers. We would like to thank all the photographers and student performers for the enthusiastic performance, the speakers for the enthusiastic talks, and all the organizers. Now, thank you for all joining us for this program today. Hope to meet you soon for the next TED event. We would like to end with a closing prayer. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudakshate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
All the students are requested to be seated.
I can actually